Yevgeny Prigozhin was born on June 1, 1961, in Leningrad, now St. Petersburg, Vladimir Putin's home city. He received his first criminal conviction in 1979, aged just 18, and got a suspended 2.5-year sentence for theft. 2 years later, he was sentenced to 13 years in jail for robbery and theft, 9 of which he served behind bars. Upon his release from jail, Prigozhin set up a chain of stalls selling hot dogs in St. Petersburg. Business went well, and within a few years, in the lawless 1990s, Prigozhin was able to open expensive restaurants in the city. It was there that he began mixing with the high and mighty of St. Petersburg and then Russia. One of his restaurants, called New Island, was a boat sailing up and down the Neva River. Vladimir Putin liked it so much that, after becoming president, he started taking his foreign guests there. And that is most likely how the two first met. Vladimir Putin saw that I had no problem serving plates to dignitaries in person, Prigozhin said in an interview. We met when he came with Japanese Prime Minister Mori. Yoshiro Mori visited St. Petersburg in April 2000 at the very beginning of Vladimir Putin's rule. Mr. Putin trusted Prigozhin enough to celebrate his birthday on New Island in 2003. Years later, Prigozhin's catering company Concord was contracted to supply food to the Kremlin, earning him the nickname Putin's Chef. Firms affiliated with Prigozhin also won lucrative catering contracts from the military and state-run schools. But it was after Russia's invasion of Ukraine in 2014 that signs began to emerge that Prigozhin was no ordinary businessman. A shadowy private military company said to be linked to him was first reported to be fighting Ukrainian forces in the eastern Donbas region. It is commonly known as Wagner, after the call sign used by one of its key early commanders. He was reportedly fascinated by Nazi Germany, which appropriated the 19th century composer's works for propaganda. Apart from Ukraine, Wagner was active across Africa and beyond, invariably performing tasks that furthered the Kremlin's agenda, from propping up Bashar al-Assad's regime in Syria to combating French influence in Mali. For years, Prigozhin denied having any links to Wagner and even sued people who suggested that he did. But then, in September 2022, he said he had set up the group in 2014. The US, EU, and UK have all imposed sanctions on Wagner, but it is allowed to operate in Russia, even though the law bans mercenary activities. Why would the Kremlin want someone like Prigozhin to conduct disinformation and military campaigns across the world? One major reason is so-called plausible deniability. Using private operatives allows the Russian government to deny involvement in highly sensitive operations. And why did Prigozhin end up in this role? According to journalist Ilya Zhigulev, who has studied Prigozhin's biography in detail, there are several reasons. He never refused to do dirty deeds. He had nothing to lose reputationally, Zhigulev argues. Prigozhin's past was another reason, he adds. Putin does not like people with an impeccably clean reputation because they are difficult to control. From this point of view, Prigozhin was an ideal candidate. In a rare interview back in 2011, Prigozhin said he had once written a book for children where the main character helped the king save his kingdom and then went on to do something truly heroic. Initially, Prigozhin shunned the limelight, usually communicating with the media via statements issued by his catering company, Concord. This changed after Russia launched its full-scale invasion of Ukraine in February 2022. Months into the campaign, it was clearly stalling, and Prigozhin's services were much in demand again. After years of denying that Wagner even existed, on the 27th of July 2022, Kremlin-controlled media suddenly admitted that it was fighting in eastern Ukraine. Prigozhin also started posting videos on social media, apparently filmed in occupied parts of Ukraine, in which he boasted of Wagner's exploits there. By this time, no other private military company in the world had access to so much kit, including fighter jets, helicopters, and tanks. After tens of thousands of Russian troops were killed in Ukraine, Prigozhin was allowed to recruit in prisons. He personally visited numerous jails to promise convicted criminals that they would be able to go home free, and with their convictions removed after 6 months of fighting for Wagner in Ukraine, if they survived. His relations within the defense ministry worsened, and he was barred from recruiting more prisoners in early 2023. He claimed repeatedly that the defense ministry starved Wagner of ammunition, and at one point, he even accused Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu and Chief of the General Staff, Valery Gerasimov, of treason. Prigozhin's increasingly outspoken criticism spilled over into a direct confrontation in June 2023, when he accused Russia's military of attacking a Wagner base in Ukraine, which Moscow denied. His Wagner fighters then crossed from occupied Ukrainian territory into Russia, seizing key military sites in Rostov-on-Don, a southern Russian city near the border. Russia opened a criminal case against Prigozhin for inciting an armed rebellion, while President Putin called his actions treason. However, hours into what looked like a march by Wagner fighters towards Moscow to remove the military leadership, Prigozhin called off his troops and announced he had agreed a deal, mediated by the Belarus leader Alexander Lukashenko. The Kremlin confirmed the details, which included dropping the charges against Prigozhin and his troops who participated in the mutiny, in return for the controversial mercenary chief moving to Belarus. He left Rostov after the deal, but his whereabouts remain unknown.